Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we're making a pro Chiro connection with Dr. Peter Morgan. Peter, can you get us started by just introducing yourself and reflecting back on that time when you decided or realized that chiropractic might be the right path for you?
Yeah, hey, my name is Dr. Peter Morgan. I'm from the Bronx, New York, practicing chiropractic 38 years. It's interesting because I was actually searching for chiropractic. I didn't know it existed, but I went to a rock and roll concert in 1969 called Woodstock. It was a big event at that time, and my dad had driven me and two of my friends up there, and we put our tents up on the lake, and we got there 2 days before the concert started. So I happened to be up there for 5 days, and on the second day of being there, I was walking by this medical tent, and I was seeing people, having some difficulties, and I was asking what's happening, and so they said, well, there's a lot of people who were suffering from overdosing on LSD. A lot of people were having bad acid trips. So I wanted to volunteer and help. And I said, what can I do? And they said, well, all you have to do is hug people and tell them everything's going to be all right. They're on a bad acid trip. So for 5 days, all I did was hug people. Of course, you could hear the concert wherever you were, but all I did was hug people and tell them they were going to be all right. And when that 5 days was over, I was really touched. And I said to myself, this is something that I want to do now. I didn't know any career other than medicine. I never heard of chiropractic. So I thought I was going to be doing something in medicine, maybe psychology, psychiatry. I don't know. But I went for a degree and got a degree in medical technology. And then I went to medical school in Italy. And I was in medical school in Perugia, Italy. When I got into a motorcycle accident, my uncle took me to a chiropractor in Torino, Italy. And when I got to the chiropractor's office, he hugged me and told me everything would be all right. So it brought me back to a number of years before, and this came to me. This is what I want to do. This is what I've been searching for, a profession where you can touch people and hug people, and I went to practical, started in 1981, graduated in 1985 from New York Chiropractic College.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience at chiropractic college back then, and then also just maybe touch on what you gravitated towards, whether it was a technique or a mentor, or what path did you take in chiropractic college, and how did it translate to when you got out?
Yeah, so immediately in the first trimester of chiropractic college, I guess it was like a weeding out process. We had 10 courses in the first trimester, from anatomy, dissecting cadavers, to all the different type of medical biochemistry courses that you got to take. And I had taken all those courses already, so for me that part was easy. But I was really attracted to the chiropractic part. And my mentor, and our first year we had a professor called Frank DiGiacomo, who wrote this book called The Man's Greatest Gift to Man, Chiropractic. And in that book, he talked all about chiropractic from its origins, from D.D. Palmer to B.J. Palmer. And I was really, really into this whole historical point of view, but not from the historical point of view, but from the philosophy from those two doctors, DD and BJ. I read all of their works in that first year. Unfortunately, in my last year of chiropractic school, when I entered clinic, I didn't really have a good clinical experience. It was more or less, I didn't really have any real patients. And so I took care of my family and stuff, who, of course, needed chiropractic, but I didn't really have any clinical experience. I didn't have a real patient. I was just getting through my numbers, getting through there. So my clinical experience at New York Chiropractic College was really bad. My philosophical experience was great. I was attracted to that. We had a lot of technique classes that we took, and I was proficient in posology, but I didn't really know how to adjust anybody. But we did learn in clinic how to do electric muscle stim, ultrasound, different types of lights. So, of course, when I opened my practice right after I graduated and people came to see me, well, all I knew how to do for the first 5 years in practice was like electric muscle stem and stuff like that. And so, really, chiropractic that I was searching for, but that's all I knew.
So, talk a little bit about where you found your passion, where you kind of were able to focus your effort and be effective. I know that you took the opportunity to go to other countries, to travel, to share chiropractic in other cultures. Maybe share a little bit about where you set up your practice. anything you could share as far as like giving insights into what it's like to be a chiropractor and set up your own practice right out of school, and then also to travel.
Well, yeah. So in 1991, in about 1990, some of my classmates had gone to a seminar called Dynamic Essentials. So I went to Dynamic Essentials DE, and I also went to New Beginnings. New Beginnings and DE were the two things that really where I really learned about chiropractic. I already knew about the philosophy of chiropractic. I just didn't know how to deliver it. So at New Beginnings and in DE, they had breakout rooms where I started learning how to adjust. Uh, I had mentors like Larry Webster in pediatrics, um, Sid Williams, uh, Jim Dubell. And so I started really learning what chiropractic was about. And so um, and so then my practice took off. So before, up and from 1985 to 1991, or rather 86 to 91, my first 5 years in practice, I was suffering. I was seeing maybe 10 people a day. I wasn't really getting results. It was really suffering until I went to New Beginnings, really, where I latched onto a bunch of mentors and they really took me through it. And then all of a sudden things started happening, and my chiropractic skills went through the roof. And and then in 2001, so I started getting involved in every area of chiropractic. I just wanted to be in every single area of chiropractic. I'm still like that to this day. So I got involved in my state organization. Eventually I became the president of that organization. I was the vice president, the treasurer. I've had every single um, role in the organization. I'm still on the board to this day. I'm on that board 30 years already. I'm the district president of Manhattan now. So I'm involved in the ICA. I'm involved in the IFCO. Got involved in all the politics. And here's the thing: by getting involved in all of these in all these years, volunteering at a political organization, um, I just get so involved. It just helps my practice all the time. That's all I know how to do is talk about chiropractic and talk and and so I highly advise people to basically get involved in your state organization. You'll find some really good mentors and get involved in your international organization. And also your country. And for example, I'm the representative to the United Nations for chiropractic. On Thursdays, I go down to the United Nations and I get a chance to talk about chiropractic. I get new patients, but also I'm involved in an international level. I've always loved traveling. My grandmother, she took me traveling. She had a house in Italy. I would go there when I was 6, 8, 10. So I've always loved traveling. I'm still traveling a lot. I'll go to Europe twice this year. Usually go to Europe every year. But yeah, so chiropractic's been really good to me, and I just love it.
Mm, amazing. Wow. You're involved. So what would you recommend, I guess, to a student who has nothing to really offer as far as experience, but they have a passion for chiropractic and they want to help in any way they can? Are there ways that students can get involved? Is there a use that you see for students within these different state organizations or IFCO, ICA? Like, do you see students getting involved and benefiting from that, or should it really just be about getting involved when you get out and you're in the real world, you're in practice, and you have something to give back? That's kind of part A to the question. And then part B, growing up in the Bronx and being able to travel to Italy, leave the environment you grew up in, and then come back and then becoming a chiropractor. Like, how did that help you as a chiropractor? Can you like unpack like what it's like to be a chiropractor?
Okay, so to your first part, yeah. So for the New York Chiropractic Council right now, we're having a couple of conventions right now, and we have a program that we can provide a student scholarship for some of the students who want to come to our seminar or convention. We including in that is I'm a sponsor of that for one student, but we have about 10 openings, so students can come to a convention. They can, and this same thing at New Beginnings as well. They get housing. We put them in a hotel with a couple other students, and then we take them out to dinner, and we basically mastermind with them. So certainly that's a really good role for students to get involved. They can come to the seminars. Anybody can reach out to me. I also do chiropractic mission trips. I've led so far to date. I've led 112 chiropractic mission trips. Um, and I'll tell you about that, how that started. I was involved in the New York Chiropractic Council when our twin towers were struck by planes, by terrorists, and immediately as those buildings were going down, chiropractors were going to the site to help people. And so, being in the state organization, one of my friends, Gary DiBenedetto, and he was working with the firemen down there on the second day after the towers went down, and then the police were kind of moving everybody out, but the firemen wanted the chiropractors to stay. So Gary got me the name of the person at the Red Cross, and we did some diligent work. And within a couple of days, we were officially working. The first time a profession officially worked with the Red Cross, and basically what we were doing, we were adjusting people for 9 months after the towers went down in 5 respite centers around Ground Zero. These were churches that were still standing, and we were able to adjust people 24 hours a day. And my job was really, as an administrator, was to get you credentialed. So if you came down to the site, we got your picture taken and we laminated it with the New York Chiropractic Council and Red Cross logos on it. And then you were able to get through the police barricades and work in Ground Zero. So that was my first chiropractic mission trip. I had done some mission trips before with churches, Christian mission trips, but I had never done a chiropractic mission trip. And even though that was in my home city, it was a chiropractic mission trip for me. Shortly thereafter, at about 9 months after that, we were there. We went on vacation to the Dominican Republic, my wife and I, my friend and his wife, and we brought our chiropractic tables along. And we were just adjusting the hotel workers as we were in this really luxurious resort and right on the beach. And one of the workers said, "Hey, I know my mom could really benefit from this. She's really suffering. She's really sick. Can you come adjust her?" And so to me, that's always like a divine appointment, like God saying, "Hey, we need you to come over here." So of course we went. We took a taxi less than a mile away from this luxurious resort. It was one of the poorest villages I've ever seen in my life at that point. And I took her to a table. I thought I was going to do a house call, but they just lived in shacks. So we just put a table in some mud, dirt road in front of her shack. And after we were adjusting her, all these people were watching and saying, "Hey, can you do that for me? Can you do that for me?" And I said, "This has got to be a mission trip," because people lined up. Me and my friend Todd Harold, we adjusted probably 100 people in those next few hours. And so I said, "This has got to be a mission trip." So I came back to New Beginnings at the philosophy seminar in New Jersey, asked Jim Dubell, "Do you mind if I give a talk about the mission that I'm going to start doing?" And he said, "Not at all." Made a flyer, got 7 people to come on a mission trip. Then it turned in the next mission trip. I had testimonials. It turned into 14 people. In 2008, I had 108 people, and we set 5 different world records. We saw 22,000 people with 108 chiropractors in 2 days, and we saw 75,000 people in 8 days. And right now, on my next mission trip, my 113th mission trip, which is in March, I'm trying to break that record that was set in 2008, because I already got 80 people signed up for my mission trip, of which about 60 are students, chiropractic students, in which 20 are doctors. So I'm hoping to break that record coming up in March of more than 108 chiropractors, and maybe we'll serve more than 75,000 people. But,
What have you learned? What have you learned by doing these trips, putting these trips together about students, what they're capable of, where their fears are at, some of the inhibitions they might have mentally, and then also maybe just touch on whether or not you recommend this to a student before they go to chiropractic school? Do they have a role and a purpose to show up and serve in any way that they can? Obviously, they have no adjusting experience, so they're not going to be adjusting people, but do they have a role that they could serve and play there? And if so, what could that be? If you could just unpack that a little bit.
yeah, and I'll give you a little. I have to give you a little historical perspective. So I started doing these mission trips in 2002. I did mission trips all throughout the Caribbean, all the different islands, even Cuba, and And then in 2010, in 2008 was my first mission trip to Haiti. But in 2010, we were on a mission trip and we went to Port-au-Prince, and we left the day before the second worst earthquake in man's history. So we returned. I returned in 3 days, and a team of chiropractic returned in 5 days, and we served people who suffered in this earthquake. Now, 300,000 people died. Thousands and thousands of children became orphans and homeless because the earthquake happened at 3:30 in the afternoon, and the kids were walking home from school. And if you were in a building, you probably died. But if you were outside, you might have lived. Anyway, we one of my patients came with me. He's a famous actor in Haiti, and he had a big piece of property in Haiti. And on the way down on a JetBlue flight, now the airports in Haiti were destroyed, so we had to fly into Santo Domingo, and I interviewed every single person on the plane, and I still have those YouTube videos. And I asked them, "What is your mission?" And people's mission was, "We're going to be open a hospital because the hospitals have been destroyed. We're going to do amputations. We're going to do surgeries." Of course, our mission is we're going to be doing chiropractic. And so after that happened, we took in on my patient's property because he was famous there. We were able to get licensed to run an orphanage. And basically, what we did is on the way down, when I interviewed the people, one of the people was the president of the International Lions Club. And he said, "We're bringing 2,000 tents down to open up the tent city because everything was destroyed." They gave us 50 tents that we put on our patient's property, and we took in over 1,000 children, and we started an orphanage, a chiropractic orphanage, because it was totally funded by chiropractors. And till this day, which is 12 years later, we're still running the orphanage in Haiti. We moved everything up to the border of the Dominican Republic because it's just easy to get in and out of there. But I've been running a chiropractic orphanage since 2010. Couple of years ago, we opened up a birthing center because 1 in 100 women in Guanamante, Haiti, where we are, die in childbirth because they don't have electricity, they don't have running water in their shacks, they don't have bathrooms. And so they're giving birth on dirt floors without proper nutrition, without vitamins. And so we opened up 5 buildings over the years, and we have a birthing center in there. And one of the coolest things is at our birthing center, for example, on our last trip, we had 50 newborn babies that we taught chiropractors and chiropractic students how to adjust newborns. We had one baby was 2 hours old, and we had another baby that was 8 hours old. All of the 50 babies were under 3 months old. I don't know that anybody else is doing anything like that, but it's a clinical excellence program. And the reason why I started doing these mission trips is because my clinical experience in chiropractic school was so poor that when I did my first mission trip and I adjusted that woman and I saw the results that she got and all those people lining up, this was a clinical experience. So to answer your question, yes, people come on my mission trip who are not chiropractors. People bring their CAs. People bring students who are in high school. I lead high school. I have high school students come on my mission trip because we have a component of helping people and saving people, and that's what chiropractors do. We're humanitarians. The chiropractic component is there, and so we have all the chiropractic. Everyone who comes on my trip is a chiropractor or a chiropractic student, but we do have lay people who join us, but they're on a chiropractic trip. And so we're adjusting, everyone in the city. We're just outside factories where 25,000 people exit the factory between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock at night, and a lot of them want to get adjusted. So we're adjusting so many people so that the student can. And here's the other part of your question: what's happening with the students? And BJ Palmer used to talk about this all the time. When educated mind gets too in the way, you can't get into the flow, you can't get into the zone. So, for example, when a baseball player is playing baseball or a tennis player is playing tennis, when they're playing at the best, they're in the zone. They're not thinking about the vectors of which way the ball is bouncing. Is it going to hop here or there? No, they just know how to do it because they practiced all the time. So they know where the ball's coming. They know how to move the ball. They know how to dive for the ball, catch it, and throw the guy out. This is the part of chiropractic that the students are thinking too much. What happens is when they're thinking about the listings, they're thinking about which way they're going to move the bone. And so they're in their educated mind and they can't get out of the way. So when they have people, and this is what's great about the mission trip, because people don't understand this. I don't even understand it. But if people just touch spinous processes and transverse processes, just doing palpation, these students get miraculous results. And the reason is because they get out of the educated mind. When people are waiting to get on your table, you can't think. You just got to do. And so that's what happens to students. This is why I think it's so important for students to do chiropractic mission work, is because when they have, at least on my mission trip, we have thousands of people. If they have people lining up for their tables, they get out of the way and they get into the zone. And for me, being in that zone is when the true healing happens. You're led by innate. I know how to explain everything I'm doing. I know how to tell you the list things, and I know how to tell you all that thing, but I don't think about any of those things. Okay. These things just happen because it's come so ingrained. It's like the baseball player. He can tell you, yeah, the ball's going to bounce here. It might bounce there. He doesn't think about that. He just moves to the ball and catches the ball and throws the guy out. So I see that same thing in chiropractic and in these mission trips. I think the clinical experience is great. We serve in hospitals, we serve in community centers, we have our own orphanage, we have our own birthing center. So I run the mission work for Life University as well. So on this next mission trip, Life University usually sends 20 students who get credit for coming on the trip. They get 25 patient encounters. Now they have to do paperwork. They have to examine the patient. But they get 25 patient encounters and a 3-credit elective course. So Life University, Life West, and Sherman schools that really believe in this type of work, the humanitarian side of chiropractic, where we're helping people. I'm speaking a lot, so I'm sorry to just keep going on like that. But to me, it's really important information for your listeners to have.
Nah, it's exactly why I brought you on, to give the students an understanding. When I was in school, I went on 3 different mission trips by myself and with fellow students with no facilitators. Not that I recommend it to everybody, but it did allow us to drop into our innate mind and really figure out how to adapt in environments that were unfamiliar to us in Colombia and Mexico and in Honduras. So it's a testament to how powerful chiropractic is, that before you know it, you're speaking to the president of the Red Cross or the president of Haiti. Like the community leaders recognize the value that you provide when you sort of touch down and start taking care of their people, and they see repeatedly that people are being changed in just the way they are presenting, like spiritually. Like there's something there that you can't really measure or even describe, but people really change for the better most of the time when they come in contact with somebody who's in this loving service sort of embodiment. So anyway, I appreciate you breaking down all that, because really this is what you're speaking from experience, and you're speaking from having somebody that's been there and is still doing it, and you're still offering this opportunity. What an amazing thing you're doing. Thank you so much for all of that. What's your sort of vision for the future of the profession, future of your mission trips? Obviously, you're not going to live forever. Can you kind of describe, how you're structuring things so that you can kind of allow this to continue on and craft a legacy that lives on forever? Because it's so, like you said, so vitally important for students to go on these trips. I just stepped in 2 hours a week, doing some adjusting, teaching at Life West. So if I could somehow connect Life West, help you get up over that 113 people, then that's what I'll do. We can talk more about that later, but can you kind of just share some of your visions? Obviously, as you've been able to grow and been able to find success, you've expanded and grew your vision. So I would just love to hear some of that from you.
Well, certainly, I think the profession is in a great spot. I think it's in the best spot it's ever been. I happen to be an optimistic guy, so I'm optimistic about everything. But really, we have more chiropractors than ever. If BJ and Dee ever could see how many chiropractors there are right now, and even if the average is only 100 patient visits a week, by the amount of chiropractors we have, if you just times that by 100, there's phenomenal amount of people being adjusted. Okay, yes, maybe we only serve, people say 10%, 8%, whatever of the population. But if you just do the math, the amount of people are being adjusted is phenomenal compared to years ago. Now, of course, we want to see more of the percentage of the population, but I think that's happening. And also, when I look at Life West, you just mentioned Life West, and I look at Life West and I say, look what they're doing in India. They're bringing chiropractic to a nation, billions of people, and there never been chiropractors there before. And the people in India are very open for chiropractic because their philosophy is very similar. They just never had chiropractic. Sort of reminds me about when I was looking for chiropractic, I didn't know it existed. There's people there looking for this everywhere around the world, looking for chiropractic, but they don't know it exists. So I think the profession is in a good road. It's going to get better and better and better. And I think that we just need more institutions like Life University, Life West, Sherman, McTimney, Barcelona Chiropractic College. There's a number of chiropractic colleges that I feel are doing outstanding things. And then there's some institutions that they have a different, they have a different outlook on chiropractic, and they're just trying to be limited to back pain and neck pain. Which is, I mean, we're great for that. I mean, listen, people come to my office every day with back pain, and I'm really good at taking care of them and getting them better. So certainly we want to do that. But chiropractic, like you were mentioning a few minutes ago, is more spiritual, is more holistic, it has a component of it. If you take care of your spine and your spine is working properly, well, we know that the spine is the housing for the spinal cord, the central nervous system, the cranium. When you people who specialize in cranial adjustments, we're working with changing the brain, even through the adjusting the vertebra. Research is showing now that we're changing the brain by adjusting the spinous processes, using the spinous processes and transverse processes levers to adjust the vertebral column, and thereby what D.D. Palmer always said was tuning up the nervous system. D.D. Palmer was so ahead of his time. He was talking quantum physics and quantum mechanics back in 1895 and before 1895. And so sometimes people think in our profession, there's a segment of our profession that thinks, well, D.D. Palmer and BJ, that's antiquated stuff. No, they were so ahead of their time. We haven't even caught up to what they were saying already. If you read D.D. Palmer's book, it's really hard reading because there's so much stuff in there that is so profound. It's sort of like Einstein. I mean, that's the way I look at D.D. Genius. And BJ was, if we didn't have BJ, we would have never had chiropractic because he brought it to the world. He was such a I was a person that could just bring chiropractic. I mean, the first radio station. So yeah, I mean, without these guys, we didn't have anything. And so these are my mentors too. And so I always look to BJ and Dee Dee, even though they didn't really get along. Um, they're my mentors too. And my mentors at New Beginnings. I'm telling, if anybody gets a chance to come to New Beginnings, it's a great seminar up in New Jersey, not too far from Middletown. Do you ever get back to Middletown?
Now I'm in the Bay Area now, but just to hear you describe everything that you've been talking about, it really paints a picture that this is an adventure of a lifetime. Can you speak to that high school or college student who's like, maybe I want to go to physical therapy, medical school. Now I'm just hearing about chiropractic school for the first time or the second time, never been to a chiropractor. Can you invite them into this adventure of a lifetime that we've been able to take, becoming chiropractors and changing lives the way we have?
Yeah, that's what that's one of my intentions for sure. Because it is an adventure in a lifetime. If you can experience the philosophy of chiropractic and the principles of chiropractic and really know it, and really and then chiropractic consumes you, and when chiropractic consumes you, all these adventures are possible. Listen, I travel all over the world right now. I'm speaking at Chiro Europe. I just spoke there the last Chiro Europe. I'm going back again in April, at the end of April, and I speak at New Beginnings. I get to travel all over the place speaking about chiropractic, and so that's like the greatest thing. I just so excited about chiropractic all of the time because it's just something so different than anything else. For me, I don't think there's any greater profession. I mean, yeah, you could be a basketball player or a baseball player or a Broadway singer and make millions and millions of dollars by being an entertainer. But what we do is we change people's lives by touching them. And here's the greatest thing in Haiti. That I've been doing so many mission trips there, but there's still no chiropractors in Haiti. There's not even one chiropractor in the whole country. There's and so and the interesting thing is I brought so many people there, and we've adjusted so many people there that they call us the touch healers. This is the name they came up with, that we're the touch healers, which to me is very interesting because that's what they call Jesus Christ, the touch healer. And so just touching people, like we're changing their lives by touching them. So uh yeah, just by our touch, which we're tapped into something. Some people call it nature, some people call it a universal intelligence, some people call it God, people call it different names, but I'll tell you this, it's something special, and it's something that we're tapping into when you really get connected with your own innate intelligence, because your own innate intelligence is part of universal intelligence. When you get in touch with your own innate intelligence, and your intention is to change someone's nervous system for the better, man, miraculous things happen. They just keep happening, you know. And so, just with the ability to touch people, have empathy for people, want to help people. I mean, we're humanitarians. We just want to help people. And that's what chiropractors want to do. Every chiropractor, no matter what your philosophy in chiropractic, even if you just want to just take care of low back pain, you still want to help people. And so the profession is great because all we want to do is help people. How could anybody say anything wrong about wanting to help people? So I think we have the greatest profession in the world. It's just so great to be involved in this profession. And let me tell you, I'm in my home right now. I live in the suburbs of New York City. I have a nice house. My family, my kids are all grown up now, but they all doing great. So chiropractic has been really good for me. It's been good to me. It's been good for me. It's been good for my friends. So I love it.
Well, I appreciate the passion, the energy. It definitely is in alignment with who I am, where I'm coming from, the energy that I have and that I carry with me. People have been like, "Have you talked to Peter Morgan? Like, you kind of reminded me of this guy right now." This is like 10 years ago when I was doing these mission trips, and actually, those mission trips still happen in Mexico through the guy that I went with as a student. His name's John Martinez, and sidebar, but as we wrap up, do you have any questions of me, or do you have it? So one of the things that I recognize with the profession is we often say, the profession chooses you, or you don't find chiropractic, chiropractic finds you. And here we are having a conversation, and my intention with some of the clips of your communication is to get them in front of people that would have never heard of chiropractic had they not heard it from somebody like you or me, having this conversation and then getting it in front of them. To me, that's an offensive move, right? You use the analogy of sports. There's defense and offense. From my vantage point, chiropractic has been on defense for most of the time that I've been at least involved in chiropractic. Can you talk about what it would look like for us to get on the offense? Obviously, you're constantly in expansion mode and you're an optimist, but from your point of view, what is possible if we get on the offense and we get more momentum? The students are a huge asset. I'm not sure we're leveraging them. Pre-chiropractic students is a community of people that exists, but I'm not sure we're even aware of who they are, and we're not necessarily connecting them with chiropractic in a way that is structured and is curated and is intentional. But I'm just curious from your vantage point if there's anything that you could touch on for how we could get on the offensive and really improve the coordination and organization of this profession to work better together. Because my premise is that the subluxation, as people talk about at birth trauma, the first subluxation, our first subluxation is not cultivating the awareness in the minds of our youngest chiropractic minds right when they decide, hey, I want to become a chiropractor. Well, what's that next step? What's that first step? Who's their first chiropractor, and is that first chiropractor helping really connect them to the bigness of chiropractic beyond that experience after they've decided intellectually with their educated mind, I need to do these prerequisites, I'm going to become a chiropractor? I'm just curious if you could reflect back anything that I shared that touched or hit with you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say is that what you're doing is on the offensive. So what you're doing is by being a podcaster, by being a news person, bringing chiropractic news to people, is something that's really, really important. And doing it with passion and doing it, with the principles of chiropractic is really, really important, because you can bring a message to so many people. And so what you're doing is on the offensive already, and that's really important. What other people can do is, everybody just needs to get involved. You just need to get involved in something. Um, and so you need to, if you're a chiropractor and you want to have a successful practice, okay, you want to see a lot of people, you want to have a good income, okay, you need to be a leader. Just a leader in your office. You're leading the people. You're naturally a leader. The good chiropractors who have successful practices, they're leaders. Now, their leadership might only be in their office. Some people are just fine with that. But to be on the offensive, you need to be a leader in your community, not just a leader in your office. Okay, so the offensive people that we need are people who step out of their comfort zone and then become passionate. So it's out of your comfort zone in the beginning, but then it becomes passion. So you're passionate to be a leader. So you start off with being a member of your organization. If you're a chiropractor, you should be a member of your state organization first. And how do you become a leader? Well, first you do something. Maybe you'll just be assisting the district president and, just being somebody that's taking the money at the front door when they come in. And then eventually you'll step up into another role. If it's in your community, you could be in the Lions Club, you could be in the Rotary Club, you could be on the board of your city or your village, just by getting involved and going to a meeting. But really, the offensive way is to become community leaders. And so when we're leading people, first of all, you're going to get a lot of new patients. That's what happened with me. I get a lot of new patients because I'm a leader in my church. I'm the chairman of the board of the First Baptist Church of White Plains. I don't even have a practice in White Plains. My practice is 35, 40 minutes away, but people want to come see me. And I tell them I'm not here for the reason of building my practice. My practice is far away from here, but people still want to come and see me because I took up this leadership role. But most of the time I'm referring them to doctors in White Plains because they're not going to come to me 2 times a week if they have to travel 45 minutes, and that's without traffic. So the first step is you become a leader. I'm a leader in my church, and so how many people do I get from that? If I was a leader in the church where my practice is, oh my goodness, I'm already exploding in practice, so I don't have to do that. I'm already getting a lot of people referring to me all the time because they know that I care about people. That's the number one thing people want to know: that do you care about me? Okay. And when they see that you're doing humanitarian work, and I do humanitarian work not only in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, I do humanitarian work right here in New York City. I go to the soup kitchens. I volunteer in different things. We go to homeless shelters. Okay. So people see that. And when people know that you care about other people, and you have a chiropractic practice, they know you care about them. And that's the most important thing. Each person you have to care about. Each person it only takes a minute to adjust someone for me, but you have to be so focused and one with their bone. And then you have to be focused with them. You have to be able to put your arm around them. You have to be able to cry with them if they're having some problems. Sometimes you have to see people for a little bit longer. You might need special appointments. Usually I do that at the end of the day. I'm already starting to get tired. I'm slower. So I see less people towards the end of the day, but I see special people that need me for more time. So, yeah, you just have to be empathetic, and you just have to be, and you have to be a leader. That's the key thing, to be a leader. You have to be a leader, and that's the offensive. We're leaders. We have, and we're like what you're doing. You're leadership right here, just delivering my message to people, plus all the other people's messages that you're bringing to people. That's what we need. That's the offensive. So I applaud you for your work, and you're passionate about it. So your work is really important. We need more people doing what you're doing. We need more people doing what I'm doing. We need people to be leaders. That's what we need.